Hi, I'm doing this online now because I can't bother to set up. Significance, Chapter 1, Part 2. Okay. I glanced up in front of me to see Kyle looking back. He smiled. You look like you're in your own little world back there. You okay? Yeah, I'm just ready to be done with this. He turned more fully in his chair, putting his arms on the back of it. Come on, it's graduation day. Shouldn't you be happy? He reasoned. I just shrugged. You want to do something tonight? My parents are throwing this lousy party for me, but I'm looking for an excuse to leave early. I don't want to be your excuse, Kyle. He paled, his brow bunched together. Ah, Mags, I didn't mean it like that, he sighed. My party is from 5 to 7. I'll have plenty of time to do something with you. I just didn't want it to seem so much like a date, you know, he explained and looked at me bashfully, in case you said no again. About an inch and a half tall. Kyle, I was this close to telling him no again. But I thought about it. I'd always told him no. I hadn't been on a date in a year ever since my life fell under my mum's pointy heels. He was always so sweet to me, and he was probably leaving for college anyway. What could it hurt? Okay, yeah, we can do something. Really? He said, shocked. Yeah, what time do you want to go? Is your dad throwing you a party or anything? No. Yeah, right. Oh, how about I text you? I'm sure it's fine, but I've got to ask my dad for the car. Mine's in the shop. Okay, let me give you my number, I said, starting to pull up my gown to reach my pocket. I have it. I looked at him curiously and he grinned. I asked Rebecca for it a couple of weeks ago. I was going to call you, but I never, got the nerve. He looked a little embarrassed, and I couldn't help but sorry. He looked a little embarrassed, but I couldn't help but giggle a little at his obvious hand in the cookie jar expression. He was nice looking, no movie star stud, just a normal, light brown hair, brown-eyed, nice guy. No, sorry, I've messed up again. Light brown hair, brown-eyed, nice guy. We'd hung out a lot over the years in a group of our friends, but never alone. Well, maybe you should have. Would you have talked to me? I didn't want to lie, and I didn't want to give him false hope, so I just smiled and shrugged, hoping to pull off a little flirt. It must have worked, he grinned wider. Okay, I'll text you later. Great, my mouth said, but my head was already dreading it. Then I saw the people ahead of him start to stand one by one as their names were called. Kyle Jacobson. He looked back and grinned at me once more as he made his way onto the stage. There were still about 8 people before me. I watched him make his way to the stage and saw his parents and a large group of others stand and applaud loudly for him, a couple whooping and hooting. He grabbed his diploma and then made show of muscles. Everyone laughed as he bounded down the stairs. He was a crack-up. Everyone liked him and voted him class clown in superlatives. He was popular, but never really dated anybody. He was always nice to me, though. I used to hang out with that crowd before everything happened. After my mum left, my dad was lost. He went a little nuts. He quit going to work and got fired from a job he had for over 15 years at the school board, and now works at the wood mill for a quarter of what he made before. So I had to get into the work release program and get a job because we had no extra money for anything other than food that I needed or wanted. When I told my mum all this, when I explained how I had to get a job to help and how my dad was destroyed by what she'd done, she said it was good for us to experience a little heartache and hard work for a change. That was it. That was the last straw. That was the day I decided never to speak to her again. Maggie Masters. I heard my name and looked up. Everyone was looking, and I realised that my name had been called more than once. I blushed and giggled nervously. As I made my way up the stage, I chuckled under my breath as I half expected the announcer to call out Mags or Magster or Magsy. No one called me by my real name, hardly ever. I took my diploma and turned to look for Dad. He was sitting there, just sitting there, not taking pictures, not clapping, not smiling, just watching. I don't know what that word says. Anyway. I frowned and made my way down to the end of the platform and was lifted into warm arms. Familiar warm arms. "Congratulations," he whispered into my ears. "Chad, don't." "Mags, come on." He put me down, but didn't let me go as he looked at me pleadingly. "We graduated. Let's celebrate. Can't you let go of the past just for today?" I looked up to his black hair, the dark, short locks that any girl would love to run her fingers through, his tan skin and brown eyes, with his lean Friday night football arms, that weight that always held me like I mattered. Oh, how I missed him. But he was the one who left me. "You certainly know how to let go of things," I countered. "Maggie," he sighed exasperatingly, like I was being unreasonable, and it made me fume even more. "Look, that was almost a year ago, and you know I wouldn't have broken up with you if you told me what was going on with your mum and all." "Oh, that makes me feel so much better," I said, and let the sarcasm drip. "You know what I mean. We had that talk a lot. I'm leaving, we both knew it, when we started seeing each other. I thought we'd agreed it would be easier if we calmed down a little and were just friends for the last year of school. I didn't date anyone else. You know that. It wasn't because I didn't want you." It was true. He hadn't been on a one date this whole school year that I'd known about. He and his friends even made a pact to go to prom together. There was a lot of angry girls over this pact. As it appeared, it caught on, and almost the whole football team went stag. "I know that, but you haven't talked to me all year," I said softly. "Maggie, you wouldn't return my calls. You avoided me at lunch and then started working after school. What else could I do?" He was right. The only time I talked to him was to yell at him 1 month after he broke up with me and my mum left. Coincidentally, it was 3 days after she left that he decided to make the decision for the both of us, the decision that we talked about but not come to a conclusion to. I told him that he sucked for deciding that right then was the time to dump me. He said he was sorry, he was there for me. He tried to take it back. He even tried to kiss me and hold me, but I would have none of it. I missed him. He was such a nice guy, but his timing was just terrible, and I was angry at him for it. I was angry that he still wanted to leave me here and go through with his plans. Everyone left me. I tried to summon a semblance of calm. "You're right," I admitted. "I just needed you, and I wanted you to be there, but not for you to come back because I begged you to." "You didn't beg me, silly girl," he crooned, and pulled me closer for another hug. He spoke into my hair. "I'm so sorry, Mags. I thought I was making things easier for you, for both of us, by just trying to be friends instead. I know how hard it was going to be to leave you. Look at me." He waited for me to look up, which I did with a sigh. "The last thing I wanted to do was hurt you. I've missed you. Chad, you're still leaving. Don't, okay? I'm sorry for how I acted, but it doesn't change anything, does it? You're still leaving for the University of Florida for football." "I know. I just hated that this year was wasted like this. I'm sorry." "I'm sorry too." I pulled from his embrace, and boy was it painful. "I've got to go. Please write me, or call me, text something. I miss you. I never intended for us just to never speak again. Never to speak to each other again. I want to know how you're doing." "I will, I promise. Congrats on the UF scholarship. I always knew you'd get it." "Thanks, Mags. I still love you, you know." He whispered and kissed my cheek, so close to my lips, and I fought for composure. Then he was gone. I turned to look at him once more, and he was walking backwards, watching me, his black grad gown flapping at his sides, and his diploma in his hand. He waved sadly, then took off towards his truck. If possible, I felt worse than I already had. Well, that's the end of the first chapter, and I'll upload the second one shortly, but I'm going to get a cup of tea.